My name is Arlene, and I have lived 70 years on this earth, but the last 3 nearly broke me in a way I never thought possible. Right now, I am sitting on my back porch. The morning sun is warm on my skin. I am holding a cup of tea, and the steam rises in a gentle curl. I can hear a bird singing in the old oak tree. It is so peaceful. My eyes fall on my arm resting on the chair. There is a faint yellow mark there, the last whisper of a bruise that has finally decided to fade. It is a reminder of a time when the sun did not feel warm, and the only sounds in this house were ones that made my heart freeze. This is the story of that time, of my son Derek, and of the morning a stranger appeared at my door with words that finally set me free. Before I share how the darkness finally lifted, I would like to know, is there anyone out there listening who has ever felt trapped in their own home? If my story resonates with you, even just a little, please let me know in the comments below. And if you are willing to walk this difficult memory with me, I invite you to click that subscribe button. It helps more people find these stories of quiet survival. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to when the fear first moved in. My grandson, the man I raised from a baby, moved back home 3 years ago. He had lost his job, his wife had left him, and he was drowning in a bottle of bitterness. I was a widow for 10 years by then, used to the quiet rhythm of my own company. But when your child is in pain, you open the door. You always open the door. I remember those first few weeks so clearly. I would make his favorite meatloaf the way my mother taught me. I would carefully iron his shirts, trying to smooth out the wrinkles in his life, just like I smoothed out the cotton. He would hug me and say, "Thanks, Ma. I don't know what I'd do without you." My heart would swell with a hope so fierce it was almost painful. I thought, this is my purpose, to be his safe harbor, to help him find his feet again. I cleaned out the spare room, the one that used to be my sewing room. I put fresh blue sheets on the bed, the color he liked as a boy. I thought I was building a bridge back to the sweet boy I remembered, but the boy was gone. The man who replaced him was a storm cloud sitting at my kitchen table. The gratitude evaporated faster than the morning dew. He started sleeping until noon. The empty bottles appeared in the recycling bin, clinking together like cruel wind chimes. He would stare at the television for hours, the blue light flickering on his blank face. I would try to talk to him. "Maybe you could take a walk, Derek. The fresh air might help." Or, "I saw they're hiring at the hardware store." He would grunt, or worse, snap. "Just leave me alone, Ma. You don't get it." The air in the house grew thick like soup you had left on the stove too long. Then came the first real crack in my world. It was a Tuesday. I had accidentally used the last of the milk for my tea. He wanted cereal. When he opened the fridge and saw the empty carton, his face changed. It was not anger at the milk. It was a rage at the entire universe, and I was the only part of it standing in front of him. "God damn it!" he yelled, and he slammed his fist down on the kitchen table. The force of it sent my mother's china sugar bowl, a delicate piece with tiny roses, jumping into the air. It hit the tile floor and exploded into 100 useless pieces. The sound was so sharp, so final. I stood there, my hand over my mouth, looking at the shattered petals scattered on the linoleum. He looked at it, then at me. For a second I saw a flash of the boy scared of what he had done, but it was gone in a blink, replaced by a weary irritation. "Just clean it up," he muttered, and walked out of the room. I got on my knees, carefully picking up the sharp pieces. I cried not for the bowl, but for the sound. That slam. It echoed in my bones. I told myself what every mother in my position tells herself. He is just stressed. He is hurting. It was an accident. He did not mean it. If I am just more patient, more understanding, he will come back to himself. So I started walking on eggshells. I made sure there was always milk. I tiptoed around his moods. I stopped calling my friend Millie next door for our weekly coffee, afraid he would hear me laughing, and it would set him off. The fear had moved in. It had unpacked its bags and settled in the corner of every room. The slamming of fists on tables became a shove. I was in his way one evening as he stormed to the fridge. He put his hands on my shoulders, not to hug me, but to move me. He pushed hard. I lost my balance and stumbled backward, my hip catching the edge of a wooden kitchen chair. The pain was a bright hot star in my side. I gasped. He turned his eyes wide. "Ma, you okay? I didn't mean. You were just in the way." He helped me up, his touch surprisingly gentle. "I'm sorry, Ma. I'm so sorry. I'm just so messed up." He sounded like a little boy again, and I, like a fool, hugged him. "It's okay, baby. It's okay." That apology was a drug. It made the pain in my hip feel worth it. It fed the hope that still flickered inside me. But the cycle had begun. A cruel, predictable rhythm. Tension would build in him like a pressure cooker. A look, a word, the wrong brand of beer in the fridge, anything could be the trigger. Then the release, a shove, a grip on my arm so tight it left fingerprints, a slap across the back of my head that made my ears ring. Then the aftermath, the tears, the apologies, the promises. "I'll get help, Ma. I swear. I don't know what's wrong with me. You're all I have." And then a day, maybe two, of peace. He would even take out the trash. He would call me Ma in a soft voice. It was a trick of the light, a mirage. Because the peace never lasted. The pressure would start building again, and the explosion would be worse than the time before. I became an expert in concealment. It was summer, but I wore long-sleeved cardigans. I told Millie I had developed a sensitivity to the sun. I canceled my annual checkup, then the next one. When I finally had to go for a prescription refill, Dr. Evans noticed a purple shadow on my wrist, peeking out from under my sleeve. "How did you get that, Arlene?" he asked, his kind eyes full of concern. The lie flowed out as smooth as honey. "Oh, you know me, doctor. Clumsy as a newborn calf. Walked right into the doorframe in the middle of the night." He looked at me for a long moment, but he did not press. I think he wanted to believe me. People usually want to believe the easier story. My world shrank to the walls of this house. My prayers changed. I stopped asking God for a new beginning for myself. Every night on my knees by my bed, I whispered the same plea. "Please, God, soften his heart, heal his anger, show him your light. Help me be strong enough to bear this until he finds his way." I thought my love was a shield. I thought my endurance was a virtue. I had it all backwards. I believed with every broken piece of my heart that if I let go, if I told someone, I would be pushing him over a cliff. I was his life raft, even if he was using me as a punching bag. The mother in me could not abandon the child, even if the child was a 45-year-old man who smelled of whiskey and rage. The house across the street had been empty for months. Then one Saturday, a moving truck arrived. I watched from behind my living room curtain, a small break in my silent routine. A man, probably in his late 50s, was directing the movers. He had a calm face, gray hair cut short, and he moved with a quiet efficiency. He did not look like the noisy young families that usually moved into the neighborhood. Over the next week, I saw him working in the front yard, planting. He seemed to know what he was doing. He turned the dirt, laid out neat rows. He was building a garden. Our first interaction was an accident. I had to get the mail. Derek had been in a foul mood all morning, and my left arm ached from where he had grabbed me. I moved slowly, each step careful. As I turned from the mailbox, I lost my balance for a second, my hand flying to my side. When I looked up, he was there. The new neighbor. He was standing by his fence holding a watering can. Our eyes met. I saw his gaze drop just for an instant to where my hand was pressing against the hidden bruise on my rib cage. I froze, expecting pity, or worse, curiosity. But his eyes came back to mine. They were a steady, clear blue. They held no judgment, just a deep, unsettling kind of recognition. He gave me a simple nod. "Afternoon," he said, his voice quiet. I managed a shaky nod back before hurrying inside, my heart pounding. 2 days later, I found a small wicker basket on my front porch. It was filled with beautiful ripe tomatoes, the kind that smell like sunshine and soil. Nestled among them was a note card. The handwriting was strong and even. "From my first harvest. Hope you enjoy them. Your neighbor Marcus." I brought the basket inside my fingers, tracing the smooth skin of a tomato. It was the first act of simple, unasked-for kindness I had received in years. It felt like a message in a bottle. I made a salad with them that night. They tasted like hope, bittersweet and real. Derek saw the empty basket the next day. "Where'd this come from?" he asked, kicking it with his foot. "The new neighbor," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "He brought over some tomatoes from his garden." Derek's face darkened. "Why, what does he want?" "I don't think he wants anything, Derek. It's just being neighborly." "Tell him we don't need his charity," Derek snapped. "And don't be getting chatty with him. Weirdo living alone and planting vegetables." A new rule was established. I was not to talk to Marcus. The garden across the street, a little patch of order and growth, became a symbol of something forbidden. But I would catch Marcus's eye sometimes when I dared to look out the window. He would be weeding or watering and he would glance over. He never waved or smiled. He just made sure I saw him seeing me. It became a silent conversation. "I am here. I see you." The bad night did not start as the worst one. It started with silence. A heavy, dense silence from Derek that was more frightening than his yelling. He had gone for a job interview that afternoon. He came home, went straight to the fridge for a beer and said nothing. The interview had gone badly. I knew without asking. I made a simple dinner meatloaf again, trying to conjure the ghost of those first hopeful weeks. He pushed the plate away. "I'm not hungry." I started to clear the table, moving carefully around him. A piece of lettuce fell from a plate onto the floor. I bent to pick it up. "For Christ's sake, Ma, can't you even clean up without making a bigger mess?" His voice was a low growl. "I'm sorry, I just..." "Just what? Just useless." He stood up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. "You and this whole stupid house. It's like a tomb, and you're just sitting in it waiting to die." The words were like physical blows. I took a step back. "Derek, please." "Please what?" He advanced on me. The smell of beer and sour sweat filled the space between us. "Please understand I am drowning in this pathetic town, in this pathetic house with my pathetic old mother, and you want me to be nice." He was not just angry at the world anymore. He was angry at me, specifically personally. I was the target. He shoved me. I hit the wall, my head cracking against the doorframe. Light sparked behind my eyes. Before I could slide down, he grabbed the front of my housecoat and yanked me forward, then shoved me again, this time towards the living room. I fell over the footstool, landing hard on my hands and knees on the rug. Pain shot through my wrists. He stood over me, his fists clenched. "Get up," he snarled. "Stop lying there." I could not get up. I was crying, shaking. He leaned down, his face inches from mine. I saw no boy in there, no son. I saw a stranger filled with a hatred so pure it burned. He slapped me hard across the face. Then again. My ears filled with a high-pitched whine. He grabbed a handful of my hair and pulled my head back. "You're all I have," he hissed, his breath hot on my face. "And you're nothing." He let go of my hair, and my head hit the floor. I curled into a ball, waiting for the next kick, the next blow. But it stopped. He stood there breathing heavily. Then he turned and stomped up the stairs. I heard his bedroom door slam. I lay there for a long time. The pain was a symphony in different parts of my body. But worse than the pain was the thought that crystallized in my mind, clear and cold as an ice chip. He is going to kill me. My son is going to kill me. And it will be called an accident, and no one will ever know. That thought, more than the blows, broke the last chain inside me. The chain of hope, of motherly duty, of misguided love. It snapped. I waited until I heard the snoring from upstairs, a ragged, ugly sound. Then I crawled. I crawled to the downstairs bathroom. I did not turn on the light. I locked the door and sat on the cold tile floor, holding my throbbing head. I did not pray for his heart to change. I prayed for the strength to survive until morning. When dawn came, it was gray and grim. Every movement was agony. My face felt swollen and tight. I needed air. I needed to see that the world outside this house still existed. Derek was still asleep, passed out. I crept to the front door, unlocked it, and stepped onto the porch. The cold morning air stung my face. I was just bending to pick up the newspaper when I saw him. Marcus. He was standing on the sidewalk, as if he was just out for an early walk. But he was looking right at my door. He saw me. He saw the swollen cheek, the split lip, the terror that I knew was still in my eyes. He did not look away in polite embarrassment. He walked right up to my porch steps. He did not ask me if I was okay. He looked at me, his steady blue eyes holding mine with an intensity that demanded the truth. "Arlene," he said, and his voice was so calm, so grounded, it cut through the fog of my pain. "My name is Marcus. I was a social worker for 30 years. I have seen this too many times. This is not your fault." He let those words hang in the air. They were so foreign, so impossible, I almost did not understand them. "Not my fault. And you do not have to live like this for one more day. I can help you, if you will let me." The words, "I can help you," echoed in the silent hallway after I shut the door. I leaned against it, my whole body trembling. Not from fear of Derek now, but from the seismic shift those words caused. For 3 years, my only options had been endure or die. He had offered a third option: fight. It took 2 days for the trembling inside to settle into a hard, quiet resolve. I waited for Derek to leave for one of his aimless drives. The moment his car turned the corner, I went to the kitchen phone, my hands shaking so badly I misdialed twice. The number was on a slip of paper Marcus had pressed into my hand that morning on the porch. It was for a woman named Beth, a lawyer. When Beth answered, her voice was calm and professional, but not cold. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a choked sob. "Take your time," she said. "I'm right here." And I told her. I said the words out loud for the first time. "My son, he hits me." The dam broke. I told her about the shoves, the slaps, the hair pulling, the names. I told her about the broken sugar bowl and the long sleeves in summer. She listened without interruption. Then she said, "Arlene, you are incredibly brave, and you are not alone anymore." Beth became my general. Marcus was my scout. Beth told me I needed evidence. She called it building a case. It felt foreign and frightening, like I was planning a heist in my own home. But I did it. I bought a small, cheap notebook with a floral cover at the drugstore. I hid it under my mattress. Every time something happened, I would wait until the middle of the night, then I would write it down. Date, time, what triggered it, what he did, what he said. June 14th, 2:30 p.m. Angry about a phone bill, pushed me into the refrigerator, called me a stupid old cow, left a bruise on my right shoulder. The words looked so clinical on the page. They made it real in a new way. Marcus gave me an old cell phone of his, a simple flip phone. "Keep it charged and hidden. Use it only to call me or Beth. And use it to take pictures." The thought of taking pictures made me sick. It felt like a betrayal. But one afternoon, after Derek had gripped my upper arm and left 4 perfect purple fingerprints, I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and did it. I pulled up my sleeve, held the phone with my shaking hand, and took a picture. The image was stark, shocking. It was not a clumsy old woman's bruise. It was a handprint. It was proof. I took pictures of everything. The messy, angry scabs on my knees from where I had fallen. The swollen side of my face. Each click of the camera was a tiny act of rebellion. My next doctor's appointment was the hardest. Dr. Evans was giving me a refill for my blood pressure medication. He went through his usual checks. "How are you feeling, Arlene?" "Really feeling." This time I did not look away. I met his eyes. "I am not okay, doctor." I told him about the falls, the dizziness. I showed him the fading handprint on my arm. I did not have to say another word. His face turned pale, then said in a grim line, "Arlene, I need to examine you and document this, for your safety. Is that all right?" I nodded. He was so gentle, but his pen was not. He wrote down every detail in my medical record. He measured the bruises. He took his own photographs. "This is a legal medical record now," he said softly. "It will hold up anywhere." Marcus did his part. He started a log of his own. He noted the times he heard shouting from my house, the times he saw Derek come home stumbling drunk. He wrote down the date and time he saw me on the porch with my injured face. He was building a wall of testimony around me. Beth coordinated everything. She explained the process. We would have enough for a restraining order for criminal charges. She asked me the most important question. Arlene, when the time comes, are you ready to press charges? Are you ready to see this through? I looked at the notebook at the phone with its terrible photos, and I thought of the cold tile floor of the bathroom. Yes, I said. My voice did not even shake. The day Beth called and said, "It's time," my stomach dropped to my feet. She had taken all the evidence to the police and spoken with a detective she trusted, a woman named Officer Grayson. They had enough for an arrest warrant. They wanted to do it early in the morning when Derek was likely to be home and less volatile. The plan was for them to come to the door. I was to let them in. Marcus would be outside watching from a distance, ready to step in if needed. I did not sleep that night. I sat in my armchair, the floral notebook in my lap, and watched the sky turn from black to deep blue to pale gray. At 7:15, there was a firm, authoritative knock on the front door. My heart tried to leap out of my chest. Derek was in the kitchen making coffee. He jumped at the sound. "Who the hell is that this early?" he grumbled. "Go see Ma." I walked to the door. My legs felt like wood. I unlocked it and opened it. Officer Grayson stood there, crisp in her uniform, a male officer beside her. Beth was just behind them, a folder in her arms, and across the street, leaning against his car, was Marcus. He gave me the slightest nod. I stepped back to let them in. Derek came out of the kitchen, his face a mask of annoyance. "What's going on? What do you want?" Then he saw the uniforms. His annoyance flickered into confusion, then a dawning, furious understanding. He looked at me, and his eyes burned with pure betrayal. "Ma, what did you do?" Officer Grayson stepped forward, her voice calm and clear as a bell. "Derek Miller, I am Officer Grayson. We have a warrant for your arrest for multiple counts of assault and battery and elder abuse." She began to recite his rights. Derek's face went from red to white. He sputtered. "This is bull. She's a crazy old woman. She falls down all the time. Ask her." Beth spoke then. "We have extensive documentation, Derek. Medical records, photographs, a diary of incidents spanning 2 years. We also have a witness." Derek's eyes darted to the open door to where Marcus stood watching. Rage contorted his features. "That old busybody, you're listening to him." He took a step toward the officers, his fists clenched. The male officer moved his hand to his belt. "Sir, you need to calm down and turn around. Place your hands behind your back." For a second I thought he would fight. I saw the wild animal in his eyes, the one that had terrorized me. But faced with the unyielding reality of the law, the animal retreated. The fight drained out of him, replaced by a shocked, empty panic. He turned around. This officer put the handcuffs on him. The metallic click was the loudest sound I had ever heard. As they led him past me, he stopped. He looked at me, and for a fleeting second, I saw the little boy who was scared and lost. "Ma, don't let them do this. Please, Ma." It was the same pleading tone he used after every beating. But this time I said nothing. I just looked back at him, my face as still as a pond. They guided him out the door and into the back of the patrol car. I watched from the doorway as they drove away, taking the storm cloud with them. The silence they left behind was immense. It pressed in on my ears. I stood there, hollowed out. Beth came over and put a hand on my shoulder. "You did the hardest thing, Arlene. It's over." I nodded, but I could not feel anything. No relief, no joy. Just a vast, empty quiet. Marcus walked across the street. He did not come in. He stood on the porch. "Arlene," he said, "you should not be alone in that house right now. Would you like to come over? I just made a pot of coffee." It was not an intrusion. It was a lifeline. I nodded, and for the first time in 3 years, I walked out my front door and across the street, not as an escape, but as a choice. The legal process was slow, but Beth guided me through every step. Derek was charged. The evidence was overwhelming. He took a plea deal. He was sentenced to time-served mandatory rehab for his drinking and 3 years of probation with the strict condition that he have no contact with me whatsoever. A restraining order was put in place for 5 years. The judge called it a sufficient period for reflection and rehabilitation. It felt like a sentence of peace for me. The physical bruises faded. The ones inside took longer. Beth gave me a number for a support group. It was for older adults who had experienced abuse, often from their own children. The first time I went, I sat in the circle and just listened. A man talked about his daughter who stole his retirement checks. A woman spoke about her son who verbally abused her daily. When it was my turn, I said, "My name is Arlene. My son hit me." And no one flinched. No one told me I should have been a better mother. They just nodded. They understood the shame, the twisted loyalty, the isolation. In that room, I was not alone, and I was not crazy. Marcus and I settled into a quiet, deep friendship. We have coffee on our porches. He helps me with heavy things in the yard. I bring him slices of my apple pie. We talk about everything and nothing. He never pushes, he just is there. It is a relationship with no fear in it. That is the most precious gift I have ever received. Almost a year to the day after they took Derek away, a letter came forwarded by Beth. The return address was the rehab center. My hands shook as I opened it. It was from Derek. "Ma, I am not allowed to call you that, I know. But I don't know how else to start. I have had a lot of time to think. There are no excuses for what I did to you. None. I was angry at my life, and I took it out on the person who loved me the most. I was weak and cruel, and I broke the most sacred trust there is. I am sober now. I am working with a therapist. He is helping me see the man I became, and it shames me to my core. I do not expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I am writing this because you deserve to hear from me that it was all my fault. 100%. You did nothing wrong. You only ever tried to love me. I hope you are safe. I hope you are finding some peace. Derek." I read it 3 times, then I put it down and I cried. I cried for the little boy, for the man he could have been, for the years of fear, and for the sheer simple relief of hearing the truth acknowledged. I have not written back. Maybe I will one day. Maybe I won't. The choice is mine, and that is the point. The power is back in my hands. I learned that love does not mean permission. Loving someone does not mean you have to stand still while they destroy you. The most loving thing I could do for myself, and in a strange way for Derek, was to say, enough. I had to save myself before there was nothing left to save. His journey is his own now. My journey is about this quiet porch, this cup of tea, this morning sun. It is about relearning the sound of my own laughter. It is about looking at a fading bruise and knowing it is the last one. If you are listening to this and you are in a house where the doors are locked from the inside, where you are walking on eggshells, please hear an old woman's hard-won wisdom. You are not alone. What is happening is not your fault. And there is a way out that does not end in tragedy. It starts with telling one person. Just one. It starts with believing that you deserve to feel the sun on your skin without fear. Your story is not over. If this story touched you, or if it reminded you of someone you care about, I would be so grateful if you would share your thoughts in the comments below. Sometimes just knowing others have walked a similar path can be a comfort. If you would like to support this channel, so we can keep sharing stories of resilience, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. And if you feel moved to share this video, you never know who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share my peace with you. May you find your own porch, your own patch of sunlight, and the courage to step into it. Be safe and be kind to yourselves. Goodbye.